Welcome in to Extreme Talk, presented by Complete Wealth Management and Complete Real Estate. We'll go ahead and fade that out a little bit. Complete Real Estate, Complete Wealth Management, your one-stop shop for financial coaching and asset management. Also presented by Goolsby and Young, Jason Goolsby and J.D. Young of Blackwell Realty, Fairlife Core Power Protein, Work Hard, Recover Harder, Brent Atkinson with Wycard Realtors, the Realty Group, and by Sutton Pools. Starting off just a hair late today. You always got to love when there's some issues, but, you got to work through them, figure it out, and there you go. So we're live. We'll get it going. First off, right off the top, I want to give a massive thank you to the folks at Meridian at Russell Christian out of Meridian, Mississippi, and the folks at Tennessee School for the Deaf out in Knoxville. This past weekend, did about 1,000 miles doing both games, and also I want to give a big shout out to Mr. Blake Biggs, formerly of Tennessee Sacred Heart of Jesus High School, for the assist on the broadcast Friday night. Had a lot of fun. Did a great job, and big thank you to him. But what was I trying to say? The hospitality, both places, just phenomenal. Absolutely love being there. We'll definitely be back. Of course, I've been to Tennessee School for the Deaf quite a few times. Had never been to Russell Christian, and it did not disappoint. So, like I said, a big thank you to the folks there, the Warriors. Had a lot of fun. They've got a great setup, very nice field, very nice environment. And Tennessee School for the Deaf, it's always a unique experience being there, but always very hospitable, and really appreciate that. It makes it a lot easier. Let's run through games that happened this past week, and we'll start in the ACSC. Let me back up to Thursday. Let's start on Thursday, because a first ever happened on Thursday. Big. I consider it an upset, just because of the history. East Central had never beaten Ezekiel, and I know it only been 2 or 3 years since East Central had been around, but it was always, when East Central and Ezekiel played, it was always kind of we'll just handle business. We'll get this East Central and Southern game out of the way, and then we'll get ready for Lighthouse and the Evangel. And that was not the case this year. Matter of fact, East Central, a big 50-46 win, and that's not a knock on East Central. They've really been putting the pieces together. Had a couple tough losses, but they've really been getting the ball rolling. So big win for the Patriots over the Knights. They're in the ACSC, and then skip to Friday, and you had two games involving ACSC teams. You had Lighthouse Homeschool taking on North River Christian. Lighthouse, we'll talk to Coach Duarte at 5. With starting the show late, we're going to push everything back. But Lighthouse Homeschool, it was close. I was getting updates from the game, and it was just a back and forth between the two teams. So we'll talk to Coach Duarte here in a little bit at 5. But Lighthouse Homeschool, hey, sometimes you just got to get in there and get those nitty-gritty wins. So also, the big one Friday night involving an ACSC team and a SEEC team. It was hyped. It was one of the most hyped games in a while. In terms of NHSA rankings, it was number 1 Evangel, number 3 Freedom. In terms of N8 FA rankings, it was number 1 Evangel versus number 4 Freedom. And Evangel Evangel handled business, 59-14. I just, they took the lead and never looked back. I mean, there's not much more you can say about it than that. They handled business. They did what the Lightning have done over the last probably 5, 6, 7 years. They handled business. There's only been a couple times that I watch them play and I go, wow, they struggled with that one quite a bit. One would be Grace Baptist last year when the Golden Eagles went down and beat them in Alabaster. One would be the Ezel Harding game, actually both Ezel Harding games in 2019. Both the game in Alabaster and the game in Panama City. Now, granted, Evangel won both of them, but it wasn't Evangel handled business. It was Evangel got a win. they pulled that win out, especially the National. That was hey, they made a way to win. It wasn't they handled business. So, that being said, big win for Evangel. They just keep rolling. 5-0. Freedom now goes to 4-1. And here in a few minutes, we'll talk about the NHSA rankings that have come out today. And in terms of N8FA, I don't know if they've released any rankings, but I'll check on it here in a minute. Let's go over to the AISA, also in Alabama. Had a Thursday night game, and it was Evangel Christian taking on Meadowview Christian. Big win for the Lions. Evangel Christian Montgomery. Big win for the Lions, 46-6. I'll go through the standings here in a minute because I don't have them pulled up for either one of them. And then on Friday, you had a couple more games happening. Springwood School taking on Cornerstone Christian Columbiana. Their first 8-man game. The Knights of Cornerstone, there was their first 8-man. They'd played a couple 11. Springwood had been on a roll. They were 3-0. And from what I hear, people at the game, Cornerstone won off a Hail Mary. It was that close. The final score, like I said, 52-50. I mentioned the Lighthouse homeschool game, the win over North River Christian, so that's an AISA team. And then Southern Prep took on Stewart County out of Georgia, Stewart County High School. This is their second year playing 8-man. One of two public school teams out of Georgia, the other being Calhoun County. And the Fighting Rangers, 35-0 at home, handled business. Southern Prep, I believe that's their first win of the year, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Yep, first win of the year. So congrats to the Fighting Rangers. Big win. Speaking of which, big shout out to Midway University. There were a couple 8-man guys, former 8-man guys from other places, but Midway had 3 ex-Southern Prep players, former Southern Prep players on the team. Saw a couple pictures from the game. I talked about it on one of the shows earlier before the season. I think that'll be the future of the main future of 8-man guys going to play at the next level, at least for a year or two. You know, just to kind of get used to college ball and that life. You know, maybe it's all the way. But we'll see what happens. Let's see. I don't think there were any Saturday games AISA, so let's go to the Heartland Conference. And had a game on Thursday. I believe we had a game on Thursday. Let's see. Nope. The game's on Friday night though. Claremore Christian, 60-14 win over Cross Christian. Southwest Christian took on Abundant Life, another team there in the Little Rock, Arkansas area. It was a big win for the Owls, 60-20. And I believe they are still unbeaten, if I'm not mistaken about Abundant Life. Yes, unbeaten, 4-0. Owls on a roll this season. Life Prep, 52-14 win over Destiny Christian. And then on Saturday, originally it was going to be Cornerstone versus Cornerstone Family. I don't know, neither team are in the Heartland Conference, but Cornerstone Spartans ended up forfeiting. Sorry, if you hear me turn on the volume, I'm yawning. I'm still catching up on sleep from this weekend. So Cornerstone Family gets the forfeit win, and then Unity Christian out of Mississippi was hosting Trinity Christian out of Oklahoma, I believe. And the Soldiers got a big 46-6 win. Big conference win as well. So, let's go over to... Let's go back to Alabama. Let's go to the CFA. Couple games happening this past week. Couple big games happening this past weekend. Let me see if I can get this pulled up. We did have a Thursday game in that conference. Cornerstone Christian Rainsville actually used to be a 6-man team. And a couple years ago, they ended up making the move up to 8-man there in the CFA. And so that's where they've been over the last couple of seasons. But they decided Thursday night they needed a game. Pineview Christian there in Alabama. It's a north part of Alabama. I think it's close to the border. I know it's between Huntsville and the Tennessee border. But they both needed a game. They decided to play a 6-man game on Thursday night. Cornerstone Christian with a 63-46 win. And then on Friday, a couple big wins and a couple close wins. Tabernacle Christian handled business against Victory Christian out of Mississippi. They're a CFA team right over the border. But Tabernacle torches with a big 54-0 win. Russell Christian, the game we were at Friday night, myself, Blake Biggs. Russell Christian, a 44-20 win over Hillcrest Christian. And honestly, it didn't feel like a blowout 44-20 win. It wasn't like one team just, completely took control of the game. I mean, they controlled the game, but it wasn't out of hand. Like Hillcrest, it always seemed like Hillcrest was right there. Okay, they're going to put the ball in the end zone, turn around, do it again. And that point just never happened. So, Warriors with a big 44-20 win. And then Tuscaloosa Christian, the Warriors, they're Warriors. They took Jacksonville Christian to the brink. They gave them all they could handle. Now, the Thunder came away with the 40-34 win. But they threw everything in the kitchen sink at them. Just trying to do what they could. Almost got it, though. So Jacksonville Christian stays unbeaten at 5-0. Let's go over to South Carolina, the SIFA, SIFA. On Friday night, we had Providence homeschool the Pack Panthers. Big 57-0 win over Orangeburg Christian. And then Max Preps does not have the score updated. Let me get it pulled up real quick. Because I know Coastal Hurricanes beat the Augusta Eagles. I'm just not 100% sure on the score. 64-46. So Hurricanes get a big win over the Eagles. Two teams actually out of Georgia. You know what? While we're on this page, I'm going to report this score. Live on air. Do my part to keep Max Preps updated. So, Coastal Hurricanes with a big win. Pack Panthers with a win. And then a team that Max Preps has in that conference, They are not in that conference anymore. Greenville Hurricanes ended up playing an 11-man game against Asheville School out of North Carolina and lost 54-8. So Hurricanes, a little bit of a bump in the road there for them. Let's go to the SEC. So on Friday, we'll start off with Tennessee Heat. Tennessee Heat decided to play an 11-man game against Eagleville High School, and Eagleville with a 46-20 win. Then you had Franklin Classical, who hadn't won a game all year. They hosted Zion Christian. Came away with a win. Big, big win for Classical. Had a 12-game losing streak going on. They finally snap it. So a big, big win for the Knights. Get the monkey off the back. Never a bad thing. Never a bad thing for that to happen. Trust me. That never hurts. And then, I think the last one we're going to go through real quick. Let's see. I did not get these pulled up ahead of time, so let me grab them real quick. I'm going to go to the TSIAA. Let me look at these scores real fast. Get them pulled up. Shout out to National High School Tournament 8-Man Football Facebook page. It's where you can find most, if not all, of the scores every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Franklin Christian stays unbeaten with a win over Lighthouse Christian, 56-6. You had Providence Christian with a 21-14 win over South Haven. And then last night you had a couple games going on involving TSIAA teams. Christian Community was hosting Lancaster Christian, and the Knights, big upset win, 50-7 over the Colts. I know there were some injuries involved for the Colts, so prayers for them. Prayers for a young man also, I forgot to mention this, for a young man from the Freedom Cowboys. The word as of yesterday was that he is out of the hospital and he's fine, but they did have a kid from Freedom go to the hospital Friday night. A couple kids got banged up last night in White House, and so the Colts with a loss to the Knights. Then you had Lighthouse Christian playing back-to-back games, one at Franklin Christian, and then they hosted Tri-Cities Christian and the Eagles. So just like the Knights, the Eagles, a big first win in program history, 54-32. They got the job done. So a big shout out to the Eagles from Tri-Cities Christian on the win. Let's go over to the rankings for the NHSA. Like I said, I have not seen. Let me look at the N8FA. See if we have rankings yet. Let's see. Nope, not yet. All right. So we'll go through the NHSA rankings. Let me look at these real quick. So, let's see. Let's look at the differences from last week. So, of course, Freedom Cowboys with a loss on Friday night. Now, granted, it was to the number 1 team, but Freedom now sits at number 8. So they dropped from number 3 to number 8. We'll start at the top. Evangel Christian stays at 1. Franklin Christian stays at 2. Russell Christian moves up to number 3 with the loss by the Freedom Cowboys. Fort Wayne King Crusaders out of Indiana, they move up to number 4. KC East out of Kansas City, Missouri, they move to 5. Lighthouse Homeschool moves from number 7 to number 6. Springwood last week was number 8. They actually moved down to number 11 with the loss, just over Cornerstone Christian Columbiana. And then number 7 this week, like I said, formerly it was Lighthouse Homeschool. They moved up to 6. And then Jacksonville Christian is number 7. Now, last week they were number 9. So a big jump for them. Number 8 this week, mentioned the Freedom Cowboys going from 3 to 8. Providence Christian is number 9. They move up from 10 with a win over South Haven Christian. And then number 10 this week, Cornerstone Christian Columbiana with the win over Springwood School rather. And Cornerstone Christian was sitting at number 15, so a big win over Springwood puts them in the top 10. Let's run through number 25 real quick. Springwood School at number 11, Lancaster Christian at 12, Hillcrest at 13, Christian Community at 14, Pack Panthers 15, Tennessee Heat 16, John Paul the Great out of Louisiana, they are 2-0. They are at 17. Cornerstone Christian Rainsville is at 18. Wichita Warriors at 19. Tuscaloosa Christian at 20. Grace Baptist 21. Southwest Louisiana Homeschool 22. East Central 23. Ezekiel Academy 24. And Cornerstone Family is at 25. And we'll highlight a couple of these real quick. Look at Ezekiel Academy. Last week they were sitting at 18. They are now at 24. East Central was formerly all the way down at 31. They are now at 23 with the win over Ezekiel. Tuscaloosa Christian stays at number 20. Let's see. Wichita Warriors actually dropped from 14 down to number 19. Then you had Christian Community. Last week they were number 11. With a big loss to Lancaster Christian, they dropped to 14. Tennessee Heat this week are 16, formerly at 13. So quite a bit of movement on these rankings. But a big shout out to the NHSA and Mr. Hank St. Dennis. National High School Tournament 8-man football is the Facebook page. It's where you can find the rankings. They'll keep you updated on what games are happening this week. They'll get you all the final scores. It's really a great way to keep up to date. Of course, with us not doing scores anymore. There's a couple comments on here. Trying to make sure we got all the scores. Let's see. St. Mary's 56. Mentioned Wichita Warriors dropped down. They lost 56-6 to St. Mary's out in Kansas. You had are there any of these that I missed? No, I think I got them all. There you go. Fort Wayne King Crusaders, I mentioned, they're in the top 5 right now. They had a 41-0 win over the St. Mary's up in I think it was Ohio or Indiana, one of the two. So, there's your scores from last weekend. There's the standings. Let me see if we can't get our first guest queued up. Like I said, make sure you go follow that Facebook page. Of course, we'll post some of the standings, some of the rankings as we get the opportunity. Let's get our first guest lined up. Joining me now is the head coach of the Lighthouse Warriors, Coach J.J. Duarte. Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Yes, sir. Thank you, James. Always enjoy having the opportunity to speak with you and get to interact with you and your show.
Coach, you guys just love nail biters. I don't know if y'all just I don't know if y'all just planned for that, but it seems like this year, and thankfully they've gone your way. But it seems like you guys thrive in a situation. You have had big wins, but you thrive in situations where there's close. It's a close game. It's a very competitive game. What do you think is the basis for your guys being able in crunch time to just dig deep and get the job done?
Well, one thing I would say, James, is we focused this year on being physically and mentally tough, and I think that's what it takes, and to stay focused, not to worry about the scoreboard. We've really focused a lot on identity this year, and really, worry about ourselves. We've got to do what we got to do, regardless of what the score is, whether we're up or whether we're down. And so we've created a culture of fighting hard no matter what the scoreboard says, and I think it's worked out for our guys. They've been pushing hard and playing tough, and so yeah, those nail biters is it's been tough being in a lot of those situations, but I'm so proud of my guys for working hard and finding a way to win and dig deep and either come from behind or keep ahead.
Now you mentioned coming from behind, and I want to bring that up. Um, how important is it for you and your coaching staff in those situations to stay with what you guys know works, to stay with the identity of your team, not try to start playing catch up, not to panic, just to kind of keep doing what you're doing? How important is that, and how much do you think it helps the guys keep a calm demeanor about them whenever you get in those situations?
Yeah, that's one thing that I've learned as a coach in the past. It is easy to hit that panic button, and I know from past experience myself hitting the panic button too quick can really hurt you and hurt your team. And so you're right, just having the confidence and really I think not only having the confidence in what we've been doing as a team, but as a coaching staff, as putting confidence into our guys and say, hey, we're going to continue to do what we do. And then also that creates a of atmosphere of not having a panic or confusion, because then you start throwing in and trying to play catch up, like you said. And sometimes us coaches can get in a habit of playing catch up and doing things that we normally wouldn't do, and then that takes away confidence from our guys, because a lot of times they're not used to playing in that kind of situation. So really staying focused and staying true to who we are and what we've been doing has really been big for us.
Uh, Wanted to get an update because I don't think we've talked. I don't think I've heard anything early on. First game of the year, you had a young man go down, one of your leaders. Any update on how he's doing, or any timetable of him coming back?
Well,
Ben Hirsch.
yeah. So Ben Hurst, yeah, he's out for the season. He actually just had surgery
Oh
Friday,
man,
torn ACL. So
man.
uh, it's we missed him, and we're gonna miss him this year. But hopefully he gets healed up and the recovery goes well, and we'll look forward to getting him back out there next year.
Well, and that's such a awesome situation for him because knowing that he didn't end his senior year with that injury, it's just junior. He can still
Yes, sir.
come back as a senior and absolutely dominate, which is what he was poised to do this year. So
Yes, sir.
it only, if anything, it kind of helps y'all because now you can plan to go, okay, I know we're gonna have this weapon next year. That's
Yes,
awesome.
sir. Yeah, absolutely.
But in the absence of him, you had another young man. Well, you've had several young men step up, but you've had one young man, and of course against the Heat, he was player of the game this last week with the big win over Ezekiel. He was player of the week, against the Heat, he was player of the game, and then the win against Ezekiel, he was player of the week. Clay Boatman, talk about that young man real quick because it seemed like at times this season he has just put the team on his back. Like I said, you've got dogs all over the place, but he seems like a special young man that can really, really just buckle down and get the job done.
Yeah, so Clay is one of those kids that every coach wants to have on his team. He's going to give you everything he has. He's a kid that plays both sides of the ball, so he's playing linebacker and playing running back. And you can see just at the end of the game the fatigue and the way that he's hurting, but he continues to push through and give it everything that he has every game. And just his attitude through it all. He's just hard nosed, and he keeps his nose to the grindstone. And he's had a lot of success in the backfield with the ball in his hand. And I can't go without saying our line this year. This is probably the best offensive line that Lighthouse has ever had. So those guys are led by Simon Davis. You got Simon Davis up there, senior, Aaron
Yep, yep.
Brodock, senior, Joe White playing tight end, a junior, and Jonathan Snow. And then, of course, we've got guys that are willing to step in when they need a break. And so that's been huge. And Coach Dakota, our offensive line coach, he's done great with those guys, and they've really brought in to, hey, if we want to win this year, we're going to have to be physical. We're going to have to, be in the trenches and get down and dirty. So all the way across the board, again, though, that Clay with his work ethic and how hard he plays, it's contagious. And so when you have a couple guys like that on your team and everybody buys in, it really helps out, especially like you were mentioning earlier in those tight games. Sometimes it's you're tired and you're hurting, and you gotta find that extra gear. And I think we've got a team that we've got a few guys that find that extra gear, and it's contagious to everybody.
Well, and I know as a coach you don't want to look too far ahead. I don't think you guys are gonna get any more any cupcake games this year left on your schedule. This week you've got Evangel, and I'll ask you about that in a minute, and then Springwood, and then Freedom, and then East Central, who just knocked off Ezekiel. Now you guys beat Ezekiel too, but I don't think through that stretch of 4 games, you're gonna have an easy game through there. And it seems like that depth that you just mentioned is really, really going to be key going down the stretch of those games and going into the postseason.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got guys that have already stepped up, and we're going to have to. We've been telling our guys, and like you said, we're not trying to look forward. We're trying to take each game one step at a time. But we also know that we're going to have some more guys step up, some guys that maybe haven't stepped up yet, and we're going to have to find some leaders in different places, because we're going to have everybody. We're about to, you know. We're halfway through the season, but we're really about to. We've been talking about hitting the meat of our schedule, and you're right. We don't, I feel like across the board this year that just 8-man in general, just keeping up with everybody, it's tough.
Oh, for sure.
It's
Yeah.
the last few years, I felt like everybody's had a team or two or three that you can make a couple mistakes and still come out on top. And this year, just from hearing from everybody and looking at scores, man, there's a lot of games that in the past that have been okay. Well, we can go in here and we got to focus up, but this year there's a lot of games I know, especially on our schedule, that you make one or two mistakes, and that can be the difference in a win and a loss.
Well, and it almost seems like that Tennessee Heat game right off the bat, the first game of the season, and I was there, got to see it, got to see the fight of both teams, but it almost seems like that game kind of set the tone. Do you think your guys kind of got especially the guys that hadn't had a lot of experience? Do you think that game really gave them a mindset of, hey, this isn't, we're not in the backyard tossing the ball around in the Turkey Bowl. We're about to get smacked in the mouth throughout this season, and we're going to have to get back up. How much of a tone setter do you think that game was?
No, absolutely. I think that we had a few mistakes in that game, but and really a lot of our nail biters, but especially that one. It really, I think, um, for us, I've told our guys historically in the past, we've had situations where we didn't know how to fight from behind when we got behind, especially being a newer program. We didn't know how to play from behind, or when we were ahead, we didn't know how to keep the lead, or when it was in a dogfight, we didn't know how to be in a dogfight. So starting off with that Tennessee Heat game, Coach Scott's got a great team up there, and I think we learned some things about ourselves. I think we learned. That every day we go out, we're gonna have to work, and we're gonna have to fight for it. We learned to come from behind. We learned to at points in the game keep the lead. So I think that was definitely a mindset and a way to start the culture that we want to have this year and identify as a team. And as I know we have been in a lot of nail biters, but one thing that that I've told my coaching staff and our team is that these are the games this season. The games that we've had are really games that you want to see your team in. You want to see your team have to come from behind, so that way we've already been through that. You want to have those games where you have the lead and you have to keep the lead. And you want to have those games, where you have to fight from behind, because it really lets you know who you got and what you're working with. So I feel like that does give us an advantage of going into the meat of our schedule, is that we've been in a lot of those games already. And so our team and our guys have gelled, and we've experienced that. So I hope that is a advantage going into the meat of our season.
Well, let's not look too far ahead, and I don't know when your prep started. I guess probably today. Let's look at Friday night. Okay, Evangel. They are, I'm not going to give all the superlatives around them, but this is a game where, throughout this season, you guys have been able to pull out these close wins. You've been able to get beat the Ezekiel. You've been able to beat the Tennessee Heat, and you've been able to beat some of these teams that have been to Florida and been to, have had some success in the previous couple years. And then you've got the big dog. You've got the team, the favorite. What is one of the biggest things that you think you can do this week to get your guys in a mindset and get them ready for, hey, listen, this is, I'm going to give my opinion, the biggest test of the season. This is the, you know this is the mid-season, hey, let's see exactly where we're at. We're either going to get smacked and we're going to learn how to get back up and fight. This is going to be this is something that's going to define our team. How do you get your guys ready for a game like Friday night?
Well, it all starts back, this summer before we started practicing. I had a meeting with a bunch of our leaders on the team, our Coach Nhsa, our assistant head coach and defensive coordinator, and we sat down with our guys and we asked them what they wanted this year. We said, our goal is not to look forward, but our goal is to eventually be a program that's winning championships. We've been, this is our 9th year, and that's the mindset and the attitude that we've had, and we've held our players accountable. And we told them, this is not something, we don't want it to be something that the coaches want. I mean, we want it. If you're a coach and you say you don't want to win a championship, I would question why you're coaching.
Right.
We've talked to our guys, our leaders on our team, and we said, we want you to set the standard this year, and we want you to set the goals. And us as coaches, we're going to teach you, and we're going to put you in position, and we're going to hold you accountable, but it's you guys that's got to go out there. And so I feel like we've got the mindset, and you're right. Evangel is a great team. Coach team does a great job down there. We've never beat them ever since we've been in the conference. I think we were talking about the other day. I think it was maybe 2000. Oh gosh, I don't remember what year, but I think the closest we ever got to beating them was by a touchdown. And so, our guys, not that that we're looking forward to anything all season, but we're here now.
Right.
And you're right. This is a big test, and we've told our guys that, hey, and that's kind of the culture that we've been preaching this year is that, hey, we've got to play Lighthouse football. We want to control the game. We want to control the turnover game. We don't want to have turnovers. We want to create turnovers. We've got to eliminate the big plays. We got to make the big plays, and we got to block and tackle. If we'll do those things and we'll play with everything we got, I think we can come out on top and do whatever we want to this season. But again, I think it's also the mindset of our guys. And yeah, Evangel's a tough team, and they're gonna come out there and they're gonna bring their best, and we're gonna bring our best, and we're planning for it, and we're ready to face off Friday. And like I said, we're gonna have to worry about us. We want to control the game, we want to control the tempo, and we're gonna have to protect the ball. We're gonna have to keep them out of the end zone, and we're gonna have to get in the end zone. So that's kind of our mindset of going in there. They're always a physical team. Historically, you can see when Evangel steps on a field with another team that sometimes that's the big difference maker. There's also that mindset of, hey, we're playing Evangel. Like you just said, they're the big dog. And so we think that we're in a position that we want to be the big dog too and be known as the big dog. So we're ready for Friday night.
A young man that I haven't mentioned yet, I don't think he's been brought up the whole time we've been talking, but he's such a key part of how you guys have gone this, have been successful this season, is a man that had some big shoes to fill. You lost a great starting quarterback to graduation last year, and then Elliot Knowles has stepped up this year, in my opinion, and has just taken the reins. It looks from the outside that he was not overwhelmed at, oh man, I gotta replace Preston Graham. it looks like he's just grabbed the reins and taken off with it. Talk about that young man a little bit.
Yeah, so we're blessed to have Elliot Knowles on the team. He's been a guy that has sat back and waited his turn. He's learned, and there's been a few times where he's had to step up over the past few years and be in big games. So he's not new to that, but he's come out with a mindset. Yeah, you're right. He's really taken the reins. He's smart. He's really he's a leader. He has great leadership skills, and so the guys on the team respect him and they're behind him. Elliot's come out. He's made some smart decisions, some big plays. He's a smart kid, and it's exciting to see him developing and doing the things he's doing as a first year starter. So, but yeah, you're right. He's come in and he has definitely taken the reins, and you just got to keep everybody healthy. And again, it helps when you have going back to that line in front of him. It helps when you have that line in front of you, give
Oh,
you that
100%.
confidence. He's made some big plays for us. We've got a good receiving core. So we got a few different guys we can throw to. But Elliot has definitely come in and he's kept his composure. In all these games, that's one thing that I would brag about the most about Elliot is that no matter what situation he's in, his composure is the same. He doesn't panic. He stays focused. Whether we're up by a few touchdowns or whether we're behind a few touchdowns, and he just stays focused and he focuses on what he's got to do to help us win.
For sure, yeah, and I don't want to disrespect the hogs you got up front because hey, that's where the game is won and lost. As a former
Yes.
big guy, current big guy, but former football big guy,
That's
yeah,
right.
no, not going to take it away from him at all. How big of a deal is it that Friday night when you guys play Evangel in a very crucial game, maybe the most important Lighthouse Evangel game that's happened over the last couple of years? Because now that you guys have knocked off Ezekiel, it could be that it seems like this game. It doesn't seem like this game is for number one seed in postseason. How big of a deal is it that you guys get to play this game at home with your fans, with your parents, in your environment, and the guys can keep a somewhat normal schedule instead of having to go on the road and going to it's very notorious, that environment that Evangel has built. It's awesome. It's an awesome situation. But how important is it that you guys get to do this game at your place?
It's very exciting. We're excited that we get to, be in the home stands, have our home fans, being a home game. I'm just gonna give a shout out to all our fans and everybody to make sure you come out. Put that little plug in there, but yeah, so playing at Evangel, it is they've got a great thing going down there, and it is a tough and hostile environment to go into. And so, man, we're just glad that we get to play them at home this year, especially with being such a big game and have the opportunity to have our home fans, and be there and I'm sure we're going to have a big turnout. And so, yeah, absolutely, it's important that we get our field, we get our fans. We don't have to travel because traveling
Well,
always plays some kind of effect in the thing. So we're excited.
and you definitely need to get your folks in there because they're going to travel well. That needs to be a Lighthouse home game.
Absolutely.
A Lighthouse home environment. Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. I know we went a little bit over, but I'm looking forward to seeing what happens Friday night and seeing you guys and Lighthouse, respond to the pressure and do what you guys have done all year and just step up to the challenge. I appreciate you coming on with me, and good luck Friday night, Coach.
Hey, thank you, James. Appreciate you guys and appreciate everything you do for our sport.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good luck Friday. We'll see you, Coach.
All right. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you. Coach J.J. Duarte from the Lighthouse Homeschool Warriors. I meant to ask him. I I think they're built out of Anianta. Is it Anianta? I was told I was saying it wrong. Anianta. Okay. Maybe. Are you sure it's not Oniota? Anianta. Okay. All right. We'll go with Anianta. Let me queue up our next coach. I know I went a little bit over on that one, so hopefully he's got the time for me. But good stuff. Always love talking to Coach JJ. And this is really, I mean, this is the biggest game I know we built last week as the biggest game, Freedom Evangel, and it was a big game. And it seems like Evangel kind of brings that with them. Hey, it's Evangel. It's the big game. When you're one of the top guys, you bring that with you, or you have that with you at home. This is a big game. Thankfully, Evangel Athletics YouTube channel should have the broadcast Friday night, so we'll be able to catch that game at the same time that you can catch a game that is being coached by one of the coaches that we're about to talk to. By one of the coaches in that game is the one we're about to talk to. Joining me
Hello.
now is the head coach of Tabernacle Christian School, Coach Clint Chase. Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Absolutely. It's an honor. How are you today?
I am starting a little late, but I appreciate you working your schedule around and making time for coming on.
Hey, brother, anytime we can talk about our program and have an opportunity to sit down with you guys and talk football, we'll do it. And we appreciate everything that you guys are doing for eight-man football. Gives us a lot of exposure and creates a good environment and exciting times for our football team.
Well, I appreciate that. And, real quick, I want to talk about the game Friday right off the bat because this is a rivalry game. This is this is a game that every year, every team has that game where you circle it and you go, okay, obviously we've got the teams that have done really well in our conference, and everybody knows who those are between them. But, you guys, according to Max Preps, you guys go back to 2004, and it may be further back than that. But you guys go all the way back, and then there's times that you end up playing each other twice a year, regular season, postseason. Sometimes you both make the postseason, but you're playing separate. Last year you had one of those games, 44-42. The year before that, 64-55, 46-42. There hasn't been a blowout game in this series since 2017. This game Friday night, and you guys are both just rolling this season. You've had a couple bumps in the road, but all in all, you're rolling. This going into Friday night, how do you get your guys mentally ready for a game like that?
Well, mentally, I don't think this is a game that you've got to get them mentally ready as far as getting excited. Anytime we go to Tuscaloosa and play
Oh yeah,
Tuscaloosa Christian, it's big time, and they know it. We try to keep them focused on what we do, and that's been a ongoing battle for us all year. Is not focusing on the guys that we're playing. Let the coaches handle, all the details of what we need to do on the field as far as play calling goes. But you need to execute what you've been taught to do. And if we can go out there and take care of what we can control, I think we have a good chance. But, last year we go into that game and, when you go into 4 overtimes with a team and end up winning by 2,
oh yeah.
I mean, that's probably one of the most exciting games that I've ever watched or been a part of in my entire life. So, the guys, I've got 8 seniors on the football team. Most of them were all there last year, so they know exactly what we're getting into. So great football program. The guys are well coached, and we'll have our hands full, but we'll do our best to come out the victor in that one.
Well, and it seems like, and this is kind of the same case with where I just talked to Coach Duarte out of Lighthouse. But again, you guys with a big game like this, it seems like a big deal that you're able to play this game at home with the all the build up going into it. How awesome and how important is it that you're able to keep your guys in somewhat of a normal rhythm instead of having to go? Of course, it's not a long drive over to Tuscaloosa Christian, but anything you can do to keep your guys, and I feel like every coach feels like this, anything you can do to keep your guys in a familiar rhythm to try to keep, keep the pace the same. How awesome and important is that?
Well, it's very, very important, and absolutely, we want every advantage that we can, give our team for that Friday night. And the way we approach practice every week. We're scheduled to do certain things on certain days, and to stay in that rhythm and keep them in that grind is very important. So, anytime you can play at home, you've got that territorial, this is our house, and we will defend it with all means necessary, is always a huge plus.
Let's talk about your boys, and of course, one of them is literally your boy. But let's talk about your boys, Daniel, Trey, your boy Clint Jr. Talk about the leadership that those seniors have brought to the table as they step up and are kind of guiding this team through a season where, like I said, there's been some bumps in the roads, but you guys are still making the best of everything.
Yeah, Clinton is our quarterback. He's my oldest son. I actually have two sons on the football team, and
There you
uh,
go.
Clinton has been a big help to us and filled that leadership role along with Trey Andrews. Uh, they're two of our team captains, and Trey's our tailback, and their work ethic and their leadership role is very valuable to our team every single day, and that's more than just on the football field. It's in the classroom. It's when they go out after games on Friday night. It's what they do when they're off the field, on the field. It's very important that we create an environment at our school where these young men, uh, we're putting them in a position where they can be future leaders when they leave high school. And I think they've done a really good
Absolutely.
job. But, sometimes with 16, 17, 18-year-old young men, you have to kind of point them in the right direction. But,
Right.
we've got Daniel McCormick that has been absolutely phenomenal receiver for us. Uh, Clinton has felt so comfortable throwing the ball through the air to him. It makes his job a lot easier. But, kudos to our senior class. Those guys have won. Last year, they won a baseball and a basketball state championship. So we knew as coaches coming in this year that we had to uh, let them know, just because they've won state championships in those two sports, that you don't just show up on a football field and win it all. You got to take it day by day and get in that grind. And I think early on we learned that because we got punched in the mouth at Lighthouse. Clinton hyperextended his elbow in the first quarter. Uh, I had six guys go down with cramps during that game. Uh, One of our starters completely came out of the game because of cramps, and
Oh
I
wow.
feel like we put, as myself, I do summer conditioning and workouts with them, and I think we focused more on getting strong than we actually got conditioned. So I took that one for the team this year, and I know, and I'm not taking any credit away from Lighthouse. They beat us soundly, but you want to put them in the best position to win, and I think I dropped the ball as far as that goes, and uh, you know, but we've done some things to correct our mistakes, and hopefully, uh, what we've learned since then has made us a better football team.
It seems like CFA as a conference, and of course, there's a couple teams that are struggling. Every year, there's going to be a couple teams struggling. But it seems like as a conference, the level of competition has just stepped up to another level. Because you've got Russell, who's doing Russell things. And of course, you guys had a tough loss to Jacksonville. But, coming up for you guys, we mentioned Tuscaloosa. Then you've got Russell. You've got Cornerstone Rainsville later on this year. You guys are going to play East Central in a few weeks. And I know they're not a conference game, but you guys, just like Coach Duarte that I mentioned earlier, you don't have an easy stretch of games, in my opinion. But in terms of conference with CFA, how awesome is talk a little bit about being able to play in a conference where there's not just one or two teams in the top. It's across the board, and every week that you have a conference game, you really have to step back and go, okay, what do we really need to do this week to handle business? And it's not just going in and of course you don't want to underestimate anybody, but there are some games and some weeks you go in and go, man, we're going to have a dogfight on our hands this week. How great is it to be able to play in a conference that's the case? Or is there
Well,
or is there or is there a bad side, a downside?
no, it's a very positive thing. I mean, that's what you want, in my opinion, in high school sports and athletics, is that you want to play competitive programs. It just makes everybody better. And when you start studying a team, you may have played them last year, but you don't know who is on their team this year, how much they've worked during the off season, have they changed some of their play calls? It's just that's what's so incredible about football is that you can plan and get ready for a game, and you don't know until you get there if your guys mentally are prepared, if they're prepared physically. But we approach it as it's going to be a dogfight every single time. What's great about the CFA is, we have a lot of athletes. Uh,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
we may not have the size on some teams that we do on others, but there are a lot of athletes in our conference, and it makes for a very exciting football game, to say the least. But um, to cover that field with athletes that can run side to side and get vertical in a hurry is difficult, and prepping for that is just it's different, and you can't be laxed at any part of the season. Uh, it takes a grind from as soon as we get back home, we go to study in the next team, and we come in Monday. We're past the game from the Friday night before, and it's all work, and it's strictly business. And if you don't take it that serious, you'll get beat, and you know that's not a good thing. I absolutely hate losing. I know our guys do, but these other programs have got wonderful coaches, support groups. The fans are great, and I love to see it growing like this and us being successful. And the national rankings that come out, to see some of our teams in that is very exciting, and
Oh, absolutely.
we just want to try to stay on top as much as possible.
Well, and I feel like, especially with how saturated Alabama is in the 8-man world, you've got 3 full conferences now. You've got teams in it that are part of other conferences like Freedom, but and Alabama School for the Deaf. But you've got 3 conferences now, and everybody kind of interplays everybody. And one week you might have an AISA team and a CFA, or an ACSC and a CFA, something like that. I think I would think, being in a conference where, at on one hand, yeah, you constantly have to be looking, around and looking behind your back and going, hey man, this team is coming for us. It's going to be tough. But at the same time, it's almost like being a fan of an SEC team. Like I bleed orange, right? Okay, so
Sure.
I'm always looking around going, man, that's going to be a tough conference game, tough conference game. But then I look in conference, playing out of conference, and I'm like, you know what? It's kind of cool to know that, we've got some real good teams that, yeah, we don't like battling them, but hey, when it comes to playing other teams and other groups, I feel pretty good about our chances.
Sure. It's very exciting, and to see teams like Ezekiel be so dominant, and Lighthouse, to watch them grow like they have, and making it to the top. I don't want to pull against any team, in 8-man football, but it's exciting to see. Just like kind of with Alabama, uh, a lot of people want to see them, the big dog, go down. And it's exciting to see these programs doing the right things to get there. I always go back. I went to high school at Hoover High School, and my senior year was when Rush Probst came in, and to watch that program go from what it was, in the early '90s to the early 2000s was something incredible to watch. And they became nationally ranked, and all across the country, people know about Hoover High School and that football. And I want to make 8-man football that way. And if we can create football programs where we can get attention all across the country, I think it's fantastic. Look, there's fantastic athletes in 8-man football, and I think they get overlooked way too much
Oh,
when it's going
100%.
going to the next level. But I'm telling you, a lot of these guys could go into any of these programs in the state or in the Southeast and compete with any of these high school guys that are out there, if not better. And I just want these young men to have those opportunities. Uh, but it takes a lot from us coaches and dedication and teaching them the right things and doing our part as well to make that happen. And I think that we're headed in the right direction with people like you with the 8-man extreme. How incredible is that to give us that exposure and an opportunity to make it better for all of us?
I appreciate it. You're not one of the, I wouldn't say you're one of the younger coaches, but you're not one of the older coaches. You're right there in the middle. And maybe it's not just one guy. Maybe there's a couple guys. So I'll word it that way. Who are a couple guys on your defense that you would not want to take a lick from? That you're going to be hurting in the morning, without a doubt, if you took a lick from one of them. And
Well,
and then if you're a young guy and you take a lick from you're going to be hurting
yeah, absolutely. You talking about on my team itself?
on your defense. Yeah.
Yeah, Trey Andrews, he's our tailback, but he also plays middle linebacker, and he's probably 6'3", 6'4", uh, 200 pounds, and
Oh, that makes me hurt just thinking
you
about
know
it.
he brings it, and he's real aggressive, and my youngest son that's a junior, Reed Chase, he likes a lot of contact. He's a physical guy, and he we watch film back, and when he makes tackles, he grunts at them. So I mean, he's not only trying to you know hit them hard, he grunts and makes noises at the same time. So that's kind of comical. But at almost 40, how old am I? I'll be 42 in October. I don't want
Oh,
to take a lick.
see, there you go. It's not that bad.
Look at 6'2", 315 pounds. I don't want to take a lick from any of them because I got to get up and go to work the next day. So
Fair enough.
yeah,
Fair enough. Hey, who hits harder, Reed or Clinton?
well, that's that's
Oh.
that's debatable, and I'm just gonna stay neutral on that.
Fair enough, Coach. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. Real quick, one last question. You guys play a variety of teams from different conferences. Of course, they're in Alabama. Not a lot of out of state teams unless they're in that CFA. So I want to give you the opportunity, and maybe there's nobody. Maybe you look around and go, hey, you know what? I don't know really of anybody, but is there somebody that you want to take a crack at some point? Maybe one of these out of state teams from from another conference.
Well, we had talked about my two assistant coaches, Micah and Nate Miller, are former players at Tabernacle. Tremendous young men.
For sure, yeah.
Nate went and played for the Mississippi Choctaws, and both of them played at Birmingham Southern here in Alabama. And we had talked about going and play some 5-on-5 during the spring in Tennessee, and that kind of fell through and didn't come to fruition. But we would like to do some of those things. But earlier this year, we were able to watch your broadcast of the Tennessee Heat and Lighthouse.
Right.
And I think we would love to play teams like the Tennessee Heat, and hopefully next year and the year after that we can make some schedules up where we can travel and do some of those things. I think that'd be fantastic to do that.
There you go. Coach, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. Looking forward to coming down Friday and seeing everybody, seeing the environment with Tabernacle Christian, seeing the rivalry game, Tuscaloosa and Tabernacle. It's always kind of circled on people's calendars when the two of you guys meet. Such great games, and looking forward to coming down on Friday night.
Thank you, and all you coaches out there listening. We're praying for you and your players, and hope everybody stays injury free the rest of the year. And good luck to you all.
Absolutely, and praying for quick recovery as well.
Absolutely.
All right, it's Coach Clint Chase out of Tabernacle Christian. They're in just north of Birmingham, Alabama. They will take on Tuscaloosa Christian. I mentioned that. Friday night, we'll have the broadcast. Looking forward to going down and getting a little football, getting a little CFA football here for a couple weeks. Russell 1 week, Tabernacle, I forgot how to talk. Tabernacle and Tuscaloosa this Friday night. I'm excited to get a chance to see it. Let's run through some of the games coming up this week. And get my laptop over here. Yeah, there goes that. All right, let's start. Speaking of which, let's start in the CFA. If I can get it pulled up. If my computer will work with me. There we go. Friday night. Yes, I should have had it pulled up ahead of time. I understand that. Friday night, we have East Central. They are taking on Jacksonville Christian. You know what? I'm going to double check this because it has Jacksonville Christian playing both East Central and Evangel Montgomery. Well, that's not right. Let's see. Good old Max Preps. Throwing a curveball. Let's do this. Let's check East Central schedule. Let's see. Where are they at? There we go. Let's find a schedule. Well, I'm not seeing one. Come on, we got to be able to find one schedule. I'll tell you what. Let's go over to Jacksonville Christian's website. Do they play East Central or Evangel? Drum roll, please. And the answer is East Central. This Friday night, it'll be Jacksonville Christian and East Central homeschool the Patriots. Patriots sitting at 2-2. Jacksonville Christian sitting at 5-0. And then, of course, mention the big rivalry game, Tuscaloosa Tabernacle. Both teams sitting at 2-2 so far on the season. And then Cornerstone Christian is, I believe they're at Russell Christian. Let's see. Yes, Cornerstone Christian at Russell Christian. That's Cornerstone Christian out of Rainsville. So, big matchup there in the CFA. Let's go to the Heartland Conference. Coming up on Thursday night, you have Barnesdale High School out of, where are they from? They are from Oklahoma. They are taking on Claremore Christian, and the Warriors are 2-1. And then on Friday night, you have Abundant Life at 4-0. They will be traveling to Unity Christian down in Mississippi. Abundant Life 4-0. Unity Christian 2-1. Destiny Christian is headed to Sunrise Christian. Destiny 1-3, Sunrise 2-2. That's a big conference game right there. Trinity Christian is headed to Arkansas Christian. Trinity is 1-2, Arkansas 1-3. So these teams looking to get close to Trinity, get back to 500. Arkansas, will take another step to 500. And then you have Olive High School out of Oklahoma. They are taking on Life Christian, also out of Oklahoma. And then on Saturday, You will have Cross Christian at 0-2. They are taking on the Cornerstone Spartans, who currently sit at 0-4 with the forfeit loss from last week against Cornerstone Family. Let's go to SEEK, Southeastern Extreme Conference. Friday night, you have Franklin Classical. They are taking on Sacred Heart. That is at Sacred Heart. Classical coming in at 1-3. Sacred Heart at 0-3. Tennessee Heat will be playing an 11-man game against Monterey High School. Monterey 3-2. Tennessee Heat 2-3. And that game is a home game for the Heat, and I believe it's being played at Mount Juliet Christian, if I'm not mistaken. Franklin Christian Academy, the Falcons at 5-0. They head to Huntsville to take on the Freedom Cowboys, who are sitting at 4-1 after that loss to Evangel. So for Freedom, Evangel and Franklin Christian back-to-back week. Back-to-back weeks. It's a tough stretch for the Cowboys. Doesn't get any easier, but we'll see what happens there. Let's go over to SEFA out of South Carolina with Pack Panthers, Coastal Hurricanes, and if I can get this schedule to load up. Come on. There we go. Coming up Friday night, Harvest Christian is at the Coastal Hurricanes. Harvest Christian coming in at 1-1, and Coastal Hurricanes at 2-1. And then Pack Panthers, it has a varsity opponent. Let me look up real quick. Let's see who Pack Panthers are playing on Friday night. Let's see. Come on. Trying to find their schedule. There we go. So Pack Panthers will be taking on Faith Art and Music Charter School. Also, they're out of South Carolina. So those games taking place on Friday night. Let me double check and make sure there's nothing on Saturday. No. So it's Harvest Christian and Coastal, and then Pack taking on Faith A&M Charter. Let's go over to the TSIAA. Well, I'll get that pulled up here in a second. Let's go to the AISA. Matter of fact, I am going to try to get TSIAA pulled up. Let's see. We'll go over to the AISA. Coming up Friday night, you've got Southern Christian, the Patriots at Springwood. Springwood 3-1, Southern Christian 1-1. Cornerstone Christian out of Columbiana, they are 3-0. They're taking on North River at 1-4. Ezekiel Academy out of the ACSC at 1-4. They're taking on Evangel Christian out of Montgomery 1-2. So kind of an in-town rivalry game there between the Knights and the Lions. And then Meadowview Christian at 0-5. They're headed to Camp Hill, and they will take on the Southern Prep Fighting Rangers, who currently sit at 1-3. So those games happening on Friday night. And let me pull up. Let me pull up the TSIAA real quick. Let's see. That'll work with me. There we go. So Friday night, you've got Christian Community at Providence Christian. Christian Community at 3-2. Providence Christian. Max Preps has them 2-1, but I know that's not right. Let me see. Providence Christian currently 3-1. That's right. So I have to get that updated. Lancaster Christian is headed to South Haven Christian. Take on the Patriots. Knights coming in at 3-2. Patriots at, let's see, 2-2. So that game must not have been updated yet. Let's see, did it get updated? It didn't even get put in Max Preps. Okay, well, that's lovely. And then also in the TSI-AA on Max Preps, it's split between North and South. So let's go over to the South. You've got, I mentioned Christian Community Providence, Lancaster South Haven, and then Franklin Christian Freedom Cowboys. And then Tri-Cities Christian is actually going to be taking on Grace Baptist on Friday night. Tri-Cities at 1-3, and Grace Baptist coming in at 3-2. And then let's go to the ACSE. If I can figure out where I left their schedule. Stand by. Come on. There we go. Are we there? Okay. There we go. ACSC. I mentioned the Southern Christian Patriots taking on Springwood School. I mentioned East Central at Jacksonville Christian, Ezekiel Academy at Evangel Christian, and then and that's Evangel Christian Montgomery. And then the game we were talking about with Coach Duarte, Evangel Christian Alabaster is headed to Oneonta. There you go. You know who you are. Oneonta to take on Lighthouse Homeschool. Actually, I think they play their games in Pinson, if I'm not mistaken. I think they're billed out of Oneonta, but I think they play games in Pinson. So there's that. And I think that does it. Did I talk about Seek? Yep, talked about Seek. I don't have any of the Georgia pulled up. And I'll have to look into the North Carolina. But you know what? I think that just about does it. Let me double check, make sure I got all of the games. CFA, SA, CAC. Yeah, no, I think we're good. All right, well, don't want to play that. Let's scroll on down right there. That'll do it for